Welcome to Movie Reel. I'm Samantha Tomlinson.
And I'm Kevin Tracy, and today we're going to continue our final episode of Marvel Month with the 2005 movie Fantastic Four, which I distinctly remember seeing this in theaters with my dad and my sister when this first came out.
Yeah, I have a weird, a little bit of like a soft spot for this movie, and particularly the second one. But yeah, this is a
Yeah.
podcast where we watch movies and just talk about them, break them down, analyze them, make fun of them. And this movie in particular, this was a movie. It was kind of like, I don't want to say it was like I was introduced to it the way I was introduced to The Mummy. It was on that same channel, like FX, and it just was
Yeah.
on there all the time. And so I watched. I think this was maybe my first time seeing it all together. Maybe, definitely in a long, long time. I think this was a movie I'd seen like all of it, but not all at once. There's a lot of things about it I remember, and a lot of things I don't.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those movies where I have a distinct memory of watching this movie like on more than one occasion. Like I remember seeing it in theaters when it came out, and every once in a while when it like popped up on FX on like which seemed like every other weekend,
Yes,
honestly,
it
back in
was.
the day.
Yes, you even agree. It was always
Yeah.
on FX.
Oh yeah. Like this and the second one, like they would always do like, oh, now for the world premiere double feature of Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Silver Surfer. And
Yeah, the second one I remember seeing in theaters, and I think that was the
yeah,
first superhero movie I saw in theaters, which is kind of why I have a soft spot for it. And
I mean,
I,
yeah,
yeah, like I know I looked up this didn't get a great. It's got a pretty. Let me look it up. It didn't get a
I mean,
good score, but I was
this
like,
movie is like it's pretty mediocre in terms of like an action movie. It seems kind of
like
rushed towards the end.
oh
Yeah,
yeah. So critics gave this a 28%, which I'm like, I feel like that's a little low. Like
that seems a bit low.
I
Yeah,
would give like a 40 or 50. I don't think it was. This is. I wouldn't really say, oh yeah, this is a piece of shit. It was just like it wasn't the best. I feel like I
yeah,
enjoyed watching this a little more than X-Men personally, but also I've seen this and more familiar with it. But
yeah. Well, this one seems more fun. It just
yeah.
had some like really weird pacing
Oh
issues.
my god, the beginning, I thought, I agree with you. The beginning was really rushed, and the ending I also felt was it wasn't even that it wasn't even that it felt necessarily rushed. It just the middle was really long. This is an hour
It
40,
was
this movie.
yeah. It just had a huge lull in like the second act of
Yeah.
like they literally had a montage of like them just all living together and like weird shenanigans with their superpowers like that added nothing to the movie at all, and
It
it feels like it
yeah, I
like I know like that montage is only like a couple minutes long, but it more or less feels like that's like a huge chunk of the
there's like a
movie.
couple montages. And yeah,
Yeah,
this I always remember I always thought this was a really long movie, and it's about an hour 40, and I was like, I don't remember it. That's like a normal length for a movie. And then while watching it I realized, oh, because yeah, the first act is maybe so actually the first act in like a screenplay is roughly like 20
yeah.
pages, 20 minutes. This was about, I don't know, I would say maybe, would you say it's when they get their powers, or maybe when they, like
I
the
I
storm
I would
hits,
say
or
I would say the first act more or less ends when
for the bridge scene?
yeah, like around the
Okay.
bridge scene or when Ben breaks out and like tries to see his wife, who by the way, like that's something I don't quite get over is the fact that she sees him for like the first time in like I don't know, like a couple weeks, a month. She sees him for like maybe a few seconds in a dark
Trench
like
coat.
like eh, yeah, in a trench coat and hat, and it's like sees him for all 5 seconds, flips the fuck out, runs away, and in the span of like I don't know,
Yeah.
12 hours from having seen him, finds him again and just drops her wedding ring on a bridge and is never seen or heard from again. It's like you come up with you come up with like the very real life decision of a divorce in the span of like 6 hours
Yeah.
after seeing that your husband has been like horribly disfigured. You are a horrible person, man, and clearly you have been planning this for a long time, and this was just your
I know, fuck
excuse.
her. I was like,
because
the
no
no
reasonable person like comes to that drastic of a conclusion in that short amount of
no like
time.
it's like if like if they tried to make it work for like 10
Yeah,
minutes like
like there's no. Yeah, I mean, like, there's not even any dialogue. She's like, Ben, like, why are you hiding? You're starting to scare me. To and then that's it. That's the only, like, they don't even talk about it. She's not even saying why she's leaving. I mean, we all know why she's leaving him, but I mean, the fact that she doesn't say anything to anyone after that, the last thing that she says to him is and
but
runs
also
away.
like yeah because I thought that too and it's like so this movie definitely yeah it definitely had some pacing issues and it also just I think it could have trimmed there was a lot of things that could have definitely been trimmed or cut and they could have
Yeah,
or
or
add and
added.
yeah they could have spent more time developing the characters. I felt like they were really rushed with explaining how they all know each other and
Yeah,
I felt like the
yeah,
chemistry
yeah,
between all of them was fine. It wasn't that I didn't buy that they had a history, it was just I was so I wasn't it was not very clear. And on top of that yeah like Ben they kind of just said like because he's trying to push Reed to go after Susan because they had broken up a while before and he's like something something cup
yeah.
you know spending your life with the perfect woman. He's like yeah Debbie you and Debbie are great and I'm just like there was
It's like, I'm not
we
talking about
could have
Debbie.
totally seen I just wish we saw her before they go up. It also just seemed he goes in what is the Victor Von Doom's company? I was so unclear. I'm like what is the
uh,
company doing?
I I don't know. It
Science.
was kind of like the same thing with what. Yeah, it was like it was kind of like the same thing as like Spider-Man or
Oh like
like for some reason like my mind instantly go
Oscorp.
like Oscorp or like also like part of me kind of goes to the Inspector Gadget movie with
Matthew Broderick.
of Matthew Broderick. It was just vague industrial company run by bad guy. There's really no explanation aside from that. Just like he's rich, owns his own company. That's how he makes money, and he steals and or swindles people out of like their ideas and
But it was just
prints his
like
name on them.
within the span of like 15 minutes and I just it could like within like the span of like 15 minutes they he like Reed pitches his idea to Victor Von Doom. They then go up into space, they get their powers and they come back and I was like could we have slow it down? Like it was so like I was like, oh my god. And I was like, what was how many weeks? And I think he had said it when he pitched it, he said a couple of weeks. It's like, there is no fucking way you guys would just organize this in like a couple of weeks. Like, there's no way. Like
And also, it didn't even really feel like Victor Von Doom was like actually the bad guy in this movie until like almost
see, I
two
felt
thirds of the
like
way through the movie. Like he just seemed like he just kind of like he like was kind of like a dick and like oh like he's like kind of like trying to marry Susan to spite Reed. He's like, oh, she's the one woman I can't have, and is the one woman Reed wants. It's like, okay, well, first of all, fuck you, but like that's not. He didn't seem to do anything like
so
inherently evil until like he killed like that banker because he was like they were seizing his company because it was like because of the disaster.
didn't he kill the doctor first?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like
But
I felt like to me, I felt like it was kind of the equivalent of how in X-Men they were hammering in the whole like you know, there's this big giant assembly is going to happen like on Ellis
yeah,
Island. It was the whole time it's like, oh, I wonder where the climax is going to be. This was just like right away. I was like, there is no room for
interpretation.
no one anyone else to be the villain. Like I remember the first time I saw Iron Man, I was genuinely surprised when I found out Obadiah Stane was the bad guy. And looking back, like it was very clear, but I had no previous affiliation or
Yeah,
knowledge of Iron Man,
yeah,
so I had no clue and I was shocked. Like this was just like he's literally shrouded in darkness as Reed is like pitching this whole idea to him.
yeah. Like I went going into this as a kid. Like I known that like the Fantastic Four like their enemy was Doom, Doctor Doom, and it's like and when they first show up, it's like It's like Victor's like they say his name is Victor Von Doom's like I like snap point my fingers like there he is, there's the bad guy, kill him now, take him out. You'll save yourself a world of hurt now. And like we see like all this like really not so subtle foreshadowing, like we see like he's like wearing like kind of like a green suit, like you see like his like metal mask given to I always thought it was funny that like the plaque says like given to uh from the citizens of Latveria for humanitarian needs to Victor Von Doom. Is like Jesus Christ, they are really hammering it in now.
Also, what is they threw that in that he's so Latveria I don't think is a real country.
No, it isn't. So
And they just threw that in there like halfway through that he's
yeah,
not American apparently.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he's Victor Von Doom. Like that's not like his name. Like that's his title.
Von Doom or just Von like
Von Doom. Yeah,
because Von is that's like
his
a Von
well,
something is
oh
like
no, no,
German.
yeah, no, it's like his full name is Baron Victor Von Doom. It's like he is a baron of Latveria, and I think that at one point he's just like the king of Latveria. It's basically just some like in the comics and like a lot of TV shows, it's like this like third world like Eastern European country that he rules over because he is in the comics and stuff like one of, if not the smartest person in that entire cinematic universe. So he has like like all these like crazy like robotics, chemical plants, like all these like crazy technological marvels that like keep him like 3 steps ahead of like Tony Stark and like all these other like really smart egghead superheroes.
That actually because I was thinking about this. What universe is this
it,
in?
it's
Like
it's it's just this is Marvel, but it's his own. This is its own movie, its own thing right now.
no,
It's
right,
yeah,
but like so in the I mean I know in like comics it's all like one
shared
thing,
universe. Yeah,
but like are they because this also takes place in New York, so I'm just wondering do they
yeah.
come into more contact with like Spider-Man and the Avengers and
No,
like
no. This movie is like its own thing. Like how X Men, it's just the X Men. How Blade is just Blade. There are no other heroes, as far as I know, except for exclusively like Fantastic Four related heroes and villains that
but
they
in the
naturally
comics
encounter. Oh, in
do
the
they ever
comics,
like
yeah, like they.
interact?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I think the Human Torch was an Avenger at one point. Reed Richards and Bruce Banner are like old like colleagues, and I think they all eventually like live in the Avengers Tower, and they all constantly lose poker to Spider-Man because his spider sense can pick up when people are bluffing.
Okay.
And I think the Thing is also drinking buddies with Wolverine.
That was okay. I'm glad you brought up the Thing because that was another thing that I was wondering about.
But tis.
So yeah, we've kind of established this movie adds in a lot of there's a lot of fat to like I mean pad the movie, but also just I don't know get
Yeah,
some laughs, get some action, whatever. And there's not a lot of development with the characters, and I also just felt like but particularly there's a whole sequence, a whole montage where they're trying to they're testing on each other and experimenting and trying to figure out like what exactly their powers are and how strong they are
yeah,
and there is a point and like when they just before they start this Johnny Storm, so Chris Evans pre Captain America says like
yeah,
why can't Ben change back to the way he is like we can
yeah.
and we never find out. I'm assuming it's in the comics but I don't think that ever gets clarified or
I
not clearly.
I thought that I feel like they kind of clarified it because he was the only one that was still outside of the space station when they were hit, so he was hit first and with the most amount of like the radiation. So I think
I mean
the
that
movie
makes
kind of
sense
says it like that. Like it makes sense if you think about it, but I don't think the movie like expressly says anything that like that, other than
but
just
yeah
like subtle like background like dialogue. And I'm like I'm genuinely trying to remember if they ever express that theory. But
but
I
yeah
also just want to point out that Michael Chiklis's makeup for that is it looks awesome. Like this movie came out in 2005, and it still looks
So it's
fucking
practical.
phenomenal.
That's what I was wondering because
Y-
it
yeah.
looks
Oh yeah. It's
great. It looks great.
yeah. It's 100.
There's even CGI in this that
Yeah.
I don't think has aged horribly. Like, it's not the best, but it looks okay.
I mean, yeah. There's some scenes where like Mr. Fantastic is stretching around, just like, oh, that looks really bad.
But it
But
wasn't.
for the
I
most
was
part,
prepared for it to look worse than it did. I thought there was
yeah. Oh
plenty of times
yeah.
where it looked fine. But yeah, like the things makeup, it's amazing. I was like, this has to be practical because it looks really good.
Yeah, like there's only like a few scenes like here and there where he's like in like some like the more like intense like action sequences where he's like CG, but for the most part, like that's 100% Michael Chiklis wearing like 3 layers of like makeup. Like he has to wear like a I think the I remember seeing like a behind the scenes thing all like forever ago where he was wearing like a latex like bodysuit around his body that's like covering everything except for like his like actual face, and then they paint that with like an orange like epoxy glue, and then they're like basically like just sticking all these like rocks like textured like rocks things like all over his body to actually like build the suit. uh and that was when they first built it, and like after a while they were able to like, oh, we can just like put a zipper in the back and like cover it up with like whatever. So it was like it doesn't take like 8 hours a day to put it on and off like for like the Grinch for Jim
Oh
Carrey.
yeah,
But yeah, no, that looks really good. But I also feel like one of the reasons why they went full practical with that is, one, they wanted to show off like that amazing like makeup, and I think that's one of the reasons why Ben has as much screen time
hmm
as he did, because he has like one of like the best story arcs in the entire movie, and has like the most like
yeah.
character arcs. Like he meets like a new girl, like he has like a great story arc. And I mean, it makes sense because, like, out of all of them, his powers are like the worst. He gets completely shit on and is made fun of constantly by like the public and by Johnny. Johnny, I remember when this movie first came out, I thought he was like a hilarious character. Watching it now, it's like, wow, you're a complete asshole, and you have no
I
character
think
outside of
yeah,
that.
I love the scene when Ben meets Alicia. He goes to the bar and he sits on a stool and it breaks and a couple people are laughing and the bartender's like, "Hey, this is uh Ben Grimm. He's put his life out." Like,
It's Ben
I love how
Grimm.
he has some allies outside of the Fantastic Four. And I love that scene. I
Yeah,
love how
I
that
love
guy was
that.
just like, "Hey, everybody fuck off." It wasn't just like, I don't know. It spoke differently than if Alicia was the one that told everyone to back off. It was like, even if she wasn't there,
Yeah,
there's someone there that has his back. And yeah,
I know. I love that because pretty much throughout like the entire movie up to that point, like Reed isn't like saying anything. Susan's like trying to be supportive as much as she can by more or less kind of like being the den mother of the four, and Johnny's just constantly making fun of him, and everyone's just like is like, oh, what the hell is it? Like everyone is just like, oh, it's a thing, like in just kind of making fun of him. So it was just really nice seeing that, like, hey, someone from his past is like still like sticking out for him, even after the first person that we see looking at him just straight up divorced him out of like disgust, which
I
like,
feel like I've on and off heard
yeah,
people don't like Reed Richards as a character, not just this particular Reed Richards, but just in general. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know Fantastic Four well enough. But I like this Reed Richards. I actually like this cast a fair amount. I think, but also he, out of everyone, it makes sense why he's not the one that the only thing he can do, he feels the most guilt because this whole thing was his idea. Ben was the one
yeah,
that got the worst of it. So the only thing he can do is constantly be working to fix this. And yeah.
to try and fix it, yeah. Which I don't think this movie ever explains why the numbers were wrong, because the
No!
entire movie is like, like Doctor Doom is even like, oh, like if Reed's right, which he always is, this will like increase profits like tenfold for my company, and he's using it entirely for monetary and like clout for his company.
I think,
They all
yeah.
get up there,
Yeah.
and his time's off, but it's like, oh no, we only have 7 minutes, not 7 hours. And it's like, we see it's like, like, oh, what went wrong up there, Reed? It's like, I don't know. I went over the numbers again and again and again. It should have been right. They never explained
No.
why the numbers were
I mean,
wrong.
yeah,
It's like it's like, wait, did Victor Von Doom like sabotage his like numbers or something? But like, no, because he got affected too. Like, if this was some ploy to like kill them, it's like there are easier ways to do that. You have like more money than God at this point, except apparently no, because you're like in huge debt by the bank after this one mission
I
failed.
think, yeah, I think
Which, yeah, it's like it made no sense. Like, why did this plan go wrong if everyone in this movie, including the villain who hates the hero, is saying that, oh yeah, no, if he got it right, then it's
two
right.
things. Well, one, I think I agree that that was bullshit. They should have answered that, and I was thinking that too. I was thinking in the moment, but I forgot all about it because it wasn't brought up again. If anything,
Yeah,
you could argue that so Reed's big issue is that he overthinks and analyzes every single thing, and that was a major issue that he had with Susan Storm, like, and why they broke up, because
yeah,
he didn't just he doesn't like, so Johnny's issue is that he doesn't think, and his issue is that he thinks too much. But so
yeah.
why specifically does Victor hate Reed, and also what is their history? They all like went to NASA together, like, or they were all in school together. I felt like it kind of brushed through it, kind
I
of brushed them off, but it didn't really explain it that
it,
well.
yeah, they really kind of sweep that under the rug. I really don't know how they all know Victor. Like, I guess they all went to school together, which is kind of like a weird thing. I'm picturing like some like shitty
Ah,
CW
like
drama of like them
Smallville.
all like them all in, like, yeah, like, or like, yeah, like they're all like in high school together, and it's like, oh, have you seen Johnny?
Reed
He's so hot. It's like, what the
Reed
fuck
kind of
is
just
going
said, "Do you
on?
remember when we were in school?" So I think he and Ben all went. Victor and Ben and Reed all went to school together, and then Johnny apparently was in NASA, part of NASA, and he was kicked out because he doesn't, like, follow rules. And I think Susan was,
Yeah, he crashed he crashed a flight simulator
and
into a wall
also,
somehow.
yeah, and
I
Susan.
remember that
Well, I mean,
line.
I guess I think she also, I assume, was also part of NASA, but like,
Yeah, 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 they mentioned that like her and Reed were dating in college, and I think they
yeah.
said MIT, and they eventually broke up because she wanted to move in, he was dragging his feet, and she eventually left him after that, and then started
So she
working
was
with
never with
Victor Von
Victor,
Doom.
right? Because it was like he was gonna propose her.
Like, she says that to, yeah, she says that to Reed, but like, he's straight up about to propose to you, so there's clearly something going on here that either she's not saying, or he is not, or he just misread this entire situation
I think there was like something there, but not like,
romantically.
or for her it wasn't really romantic, and he probably, yeah, like he just wanted her to spite Reed, but I don't really see why specifically he hates Reed. If anything, Reed should hate Victor more. And also, and
Yeah,
like, also Victor is like Reed's, if anything, Reed's the one person that can fix him, and he's not utilizing that at all. Like, I don't know.
yeah, that's exactly what makes no sense. Is that Victor Von Doom by no means should be have been the bad guy in this movie. It made no sense. Like, there was no real character motivation on why he suddenly wanted to kill them all at like the end of the movie, when it's like, oh, I have power. These are the only people that was like, why would they want to stop you? There, you have. There's no real beef between any of you guys that would indicate murder.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it made no sense that it's like, oh, I gotta trick Ben into getting rid of his powers, because after him I can take care of the other three, no problems. Like, what? Why? What?
Yeah,
Why are you trying to kill them? For like, you have more, like, your own personal battery. Like, you can charge up like in your entire building and save a bunch of like money that way, and save your company, and do all this crazy scientific shit because you're your own personal walking generator. Like, that should be enough to save your company. Why would you need to kill the other four super friends to solidify that fact? It made no sense whatsoever,
It
other than the fact
yeah.
that he's Vector Von Doom and he needs to fight the Fantastic Four.
It also just didn't really make sense that I think that was a big issue was there was a lack of substance with like okay, so
Yeah,
it made me think of how we talked about this last time how when we were talking about Captain America how you thought uh Red Skull was very wasted. And I realize here, because Victor Von Doom, it's kind of the same thing. He's got such a persona and his costume and like his powers, he is a threat. But he was very, I will say,
yeah,
the climax, or particularly the fight scene, it seemed insanely easy to defeat him. And
yeah.
I was just kind of like, he's also being like, he's like kind of not being used the way he should be. Like it's kind of similar as Red Skull,
No,
except I thought Red Skull was a better
yeah.
was better done.
Oh, Red Skull was leaps and like Red Skull like lived up to his name. He just had like way more
Yeah,
stories to tell because he is such an iconic character that more or less shaped Captain America into who he was fighting throughout World War II and beyond. And Doctor Doom has been fighting on and off with the Fantastic Four.
bank.
Like what?
The bank.
Yeah, the bank apparently. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, he's fighting like the Fantastic Four like since the very beginning, and they did not utilize him like to his full potential at all. They basically just made him like a brute that's just stole a bazooka and some nitrogen. Like that was his whole thing. Like they didn't even like he didn't build like any of like his iconic Doom bots or any of his other like crazy fucking shenanigan weapons or more of his like gimmicky plans other than just I need to kill you all for world domination. To what end would that help you? Like you're losing your company to the bank. You killed one of the bankers, but I don't think that's gonna stop you from losing your company. Like there's no clear agenda here other than baseless revenge that really would not indicate murder on your end. It made
And the
no
fact, yeah,
sense.
yeah, and
It's
the
like
fact that he was just killing people left and right. I'm like, so this you okay? Aside from you're doing this, you have this ability now, so you can do this much easier. But have you killed people before? Because this does not seem to phase him at all.
yeah, like
It's just like okay, you have this. You forget the fact that you have this like new power. You have the capacity to murder without remorse. Like
yeah, he's
what?
completely unfazed by the fact that he just like burned a hole in this man's chest with lightning out of his fingertips. Like, oh, okay, cool. Why'd
Yeah.
you do? Like, I understand why you killed the banker because he's trying to seize your company. That was like the only, I guess, justified murder in your opinion. But
The
what
doctor
was?
was like,
Yeah, like the doctor is like, okay, the doctor's gonna like blab like your to the CDC is like, okay, I guess killing him to like keep this thing quiet, but then you literally jump out of like the Fantastic Four building and kidnap Reed in broad daylight. Like your face is showing, your like skin is like protruding out of your like ripped shirt and showing like bits of like your like metal skin poking out. It's like, okay, well, everyone just saw you do that, so
yeah.
killing the doctor made no sense if you're not even going to bother concealing your identity until 5 minutes after everyone just saw you fucking do that.
I mean, when he killed the doctor, I'm like, okay, is it like late at night, no one's around? You just killed him and then you just walked out. Like, is there anybody there? Is like his next appointment's gonna come in and like, oh, he's dead. Like I like a court would not find it very a jury would not find it very difficult to charge him. Like
Yeah,
I just thought.
and he's not even bothered by it. He leaves with like a fucking cool guy line. It's like, I'd
No.
like a second opinion, and he fucking walks out. It's like, okay, you clearly don't have any regrets about this because you just gave like a cool action guy line after killing this guy for really no reason now, because you just completely revealed your identity to everyone outside of the Baxter building by blasting the doorman out through the revolving door and kidnapping Reed Richards, a very public face now after this whole incident, and you all are also a very publicly known figure in this city in not broad daylight, but in clear view of like 50 witnesses.
Yeah, this movie was just very one dimensional and
Yeah,
kind of I say it was flat. I mean it was flat, but like I've seen movies that are flatter that angered me more, that I
yeah,
liked less, and like I think it was just there was just so much, there was a lot of unnecessary things, and then there was also just, you know, a lack of depth and substance and
yeah,
like action, you know, a viable reasoning for, like I feel like
yeah,
Susan, for example, she is obviously kind of sort of like she's, you know, angry at Reed and a little like they're kind of
yeah.
she's hostile towards him in the
She,
beginning.
she, she's kind of the mother of the group too. She
Right.
definitely kind of gives off like that, like, oh, I gotta make sure that like we're all safe and like together so we can all figure this out.
But she also just seems like every chance she had, she was trying to bring up their old, like their previous argument or the previous relationship with Reed. And there was one time in particular I'm like, not everything Reed says necessarily needs to be twisted into like, okay, when he was testing, experiment testing her, and he was saying
Yeah,
like, can you, like, what were you feeling at the bridge, and like, can you try to replicate that? And she was like angry and whatever, all these things at Reed. She's like, I don't know, just something about it was like, why does every single thing Reed says have to be treated as if like, I mean, because her issue is that he's really smart but kind of dumb and not like picking up on signals and realizing like, hey, she cares, whatever. And like,
yeah,
oh my god, so said this movie last week, we were wrapping up
yeah,
X-Men, you had said that for next week's movie it was Fantastic Four, guys, how it's incredibly horny,
yeah,
and you are correct. I did not realize how horny this movie
yeah.
was.
I had rewatched it like right before we had done our recording for X-Men, and I I remember seeing this as a kid, so like all that jokes, like all the sex jokes and like innuendos and stuff, like they go over my head. But watching this as an adult, oh my god! It seemed like they take every chance to either show off Jessica Alba in nothing but her underwear, because of course her clothes don't turn invisible with her, so she has to get naked in order for that to happen. And that happens like 2 or 3 times in this movie. And her suit, it seems like they are purposely showing off as much cleavage to
Oh
her
my
as
god!
possible to still get a fucking to still get like the PG or PG-13 rating that this
When
movie
she
has.
came out
And
like in like their spacesuits and her zipper was down,
yeah.
like I'm just thinking, like, for me, I don't know, I don't like too much skin. I'm kind of conservative with my clothing.
Also, that suit was skin
Yeah,
tight.
and I'm
Holy
like,
shit.
okay, maybe I'm like, what the fuck? And I remember when I saw that, I'm like, oh, you're right, it's super horny. But I love that scene because it's a great example about how Reed is kind of dumb, because he's like, everyone's Ben, and I feel like even Johnny, everyone was like, damn, Jessica Alba. And Reed is like, oh
Yeah.
my god, the material on this suit, I've been trying to replicate. It's like, my god.
Yeah, and even like and like Jessica Alba like even gives a looks like, I dress this way and you're not even going to acknowledge it, you son of a bitch, and just throws the suit in his face. Um but yeah, no, and then Johnny, how flat and one-dimensional of a character he is, like he's just hanging around with like like he literally like seduces a nurse while they're supposed to be in quarantine, accidentally turns on fire and lands into like a pile of snow and inadvertently creates a jacuzzi, and it's like the nurse who just saw this man burst into flames and is supposed to be on quarantine is like, hey, care to join me? It's like, okay, I guess I'm joining you in this jacuzzi. It's like, what the
First of all, the
what?
jacuzzi would probably be way too hot for her. I know that they're surrounded by snow, but like, if he, before he left, she like took his temperature and he was like over like 200 degrees. So, and he was
Yeah.
just on fire. Like, he's not going to be at a normal temperature. It would be probably too hot for her to get in. And then when
Yeah,
Johnny comes back, I don't know where the fuck is she? Where's the nurse? He's using her jacket to like cover up his jaw.
she died. she she boiled to death in that jacuzzi.
The first time in the movie when he says "flame on," I kind of laughed because I remember when I don't know if you remember this when we were in college and we were in the photography class and we were going out with a group of people to go like we had to like do like it was like take photo. I don't remember what the term is, but it was like taking pictures of the stars. And I remember I was holding the
Yeah.
flashlight and I had the light part under my hand for a second, and my hand was like glowing red, and I'm like, I look like the Human Torch in Fantastic Four, and you went flame on. And I was thinking that at the time when that happened in the movie. I think you don't remember that.
uh, I I I don't know. I said a lot of weird stuff in college. I can't keep track of it all. But no, honestly, Johnny was like, in my opinion, like the worst character in this movie. He had no redeemable qualities whatsoever. Like I thought, like maybe towards the end, at one point in the movie, we see him like kind of storm off. Haha, his last name's Storm. He storms off, and like Jessica Alba, who's his sister in this movie, said like these people don't care about you. You're just like a fad to them, and like as soon as like they're done with you, like that's it. They're gonna toss you aside. I thought we were gonna get a moment with him, kind of like hanging out in a club, and he was gonna like overhear them, like call him a freak or something, and like make him realize like oh, these people really don't care about me. I need to go to my family because they actually care about me, like
Yeah,
something like that. No, he's still just kind of like patrolling around with like a couple like chicks on his arm, and like oh, I should probably check out on the family because I'm seeing a lot of weird lights coming from the Baxter building. Maybe Reed got the machine working again, and that's it. Like he never grew as a person. He's still like an immature like dick throughout this entire
I mean, I
movie.
think the only defense I have for that is that he went back of his own accord as opposed to them going out to find him and to get him. So maybe, but I agree. Like he didn't really.
Yeah,
It didn't really feel like people grew that much in this. I think
I disagree. I
no,
feel like Ben had the most
Ben
character
did, but
growth.
like most of them, I felt like
Yeah,
I don't want to say they didn't change like at all. It's just they felt it seemed because like, the whole thing. Ben was his whole arc was really he needs to accept himself, and the everyone kind of needs to
yeah,
accept themselves, but obviously it was different for them because they had different gifts.
yeah. Ben had a physical
Yes, yes,
yeah, like he physically
yes.
changed.
No, for sure. But he had the most completed story arc of everybody. I think,
Yeah, he's this movie's Cinder
but
Kelly.
with based. But in
That's what I'm going to refer to whenever anyone has a
yeah,
story arc. That he had a full Cinder Kelly.
but but no, I agree. I felt like the scene, the when they're air quotes like breaking up, uh,
Yeah,
it just felt very. The whole thing just felt very forced, especially because like Victor kind of started this, triggered it because he's saying to Ben like, oh, maybe he's just dragging this out so he can hang out with Susan. And then of course he goes back, and it's not even like he sees them like doing anything. He's just in there, and they walk in and they see him. Like I just thought, to me, that didn't it that wasn't enough. Like it was like I don't know if he that wasn't enough. Like Ben's been watching and he's been there the whole time. Like he would know better
yeah,
than Victor. Like I just thought that was kind of bullshit. It just seemed the whole everything, sorry, quoting Coulson, but everything kind of lacked conviction. And I agree.
yeah.
Ben had the most completed story arc. Reed didn't. I don't know.
Reed. I mean, he at least like learned from his past
Yeah,
mistakes. So I feel like that's
that
character
counts.
growth.
I will count that. And I think I don't really know
Yeah,
how Susan changed. Like she just
I mean, I guess she kind of like was willing to accept like Reed's like overthinking and overanalyzing as like, oh, like I still love you even though I'm at like she overcame like her annoyance for like his like overthinking and still like, oh, I love you, you dumb idiot. Like you're I think they call him like it's like Reed, the world's dumbest smart
Yeah,
guy.
it just they kind of glossed over any emotional human moments and kind of just focused more on like the action or like anything to
Yeah.
keep an audience entertained.
I really wish I had more to talk about this movie, but this movie really, when you
Yeah,
kind of boil it down, it really lacked like substance with this movie. It was very much a face value popcorn
yeah.
flick.
I will say, okay, what can you explain to me before we wrap up? Can you explain to me
Yeah,
what why did Reed? Because there was like a newspaper headline like Victor showed Reed that just said like Reed Richards bankrupt. It's like what in what? Like I guess NASA. They say NASA doesn't trust him. Like whatever. Did he get kicked out? What happened? Like how did he? And we see like he has a bunch of
like
final. His mailman Stan Lee gave him like a bunch of like letters that were his final notice. Like I guess he was about to lose his apartment. Yet they all just move in and he has all of his
yeah,
equipment. So I don't. That seemed to be pointless. Like I don't know. I'm just like, what is like
yeah.
what was his job? What happened to him prior to?
I I think he was just an independent scientist that owned the
Oh, he
back of the
owned the building.
building. I don't know. I believe so, or at least at some point
Okay.
he did, or will. I don't know. It's very unclear in this movie's timeline on what his financial situation was he like an independent government contractor that like worked with like all these organizations because he's that smart, and if he's that smart, then why is he having so much
Yeah.
monetary problems? Like it really made no sense if like everyone, including the villain who really has no like real take on if he's right or not, is saying that like, oh, he's right, then if he's always right, then why is he always losing like everything? It didn't make any sense by this movie's own internal logic. If he's always right, then why is NASA dismissive of him to the point where he has to find funding to quote the last person he wanted to get funding from, according to Ben? It really made no sense on what he was doing before this movie, other than like a couple throwaway lines about
Yeah.
NASA in the beginning.
Um.
So yeah, yeah. This movie, I really feel like they should have delved a little bit more because they do not explain enough with what they have, and they just intend instead focus on like random menial bullshit like, oh, Johnny's
Yeah.
going to the X Games and we're gonna get a cool scene about that. Oh, it's fucking radical. Oh, he's snowboarding down this mountain. Oh, that's so cool. It's like playing like some like early 2000s like kind of like song of the month like for that cool sequence. I'm using air quotes here for cool.
This was very much a 2000s like movie. Just like yeah, like the song, the music choices, and just like yeah, the he's doing like a motocross kind of like extreme sports game. Like and it was like extreme snowboarding. Like all this stuff was very much like the 2000. Which I was also confused. Like was the when they were at like the like medical like they were in kind of like rehabilitation like at the like Von Doom like
Yeah,
whatever, and then like Johnny's like just
yeah,
outside the Swiss Alps blah blah blah. It's like wait, so they're in Switzerland?
yeah. It's like, how the fuck did Ben get to New York so
I thought they were just
fast?
back in New York, so then how did he get to Switzerland? Like none of it makes like what.
No, no, I really
I
had
have to
no idea what
assume
the fuck was going on,
I
where they
have to
were.
assume they're in Switzerland. I have to assume that they're still in New York and that Johnny just went to Switzerland.
Then how did Ben?
No,
Then how?
I have
Then
to
how the
no,
hell did
I
Ben
have to
get
assume they're
there?
in New York and Johnny like went to Switzerland for I don't know, a couple
So
hours.
so wait, you mean that? So that's not that
I
close.
know.
So you're telling me that he went to Switzerland, had all of his clothes burned, and the time it took for him to get back from Switzerland to New York, he didn't bother putting on any clothes and instead just used the nurse's jacket as a makeshift toga for that entire flight and waltzed back into the hospital. That's what you're saying.
I have to believe that because that makes slightly more sense than Ben. How did Ben get to New York?
I think he just smuggled his way in because we see him like break out of like a
But
train
everybody.
car.
Oh well. Okay, maybe they weren't. I don't know. that one line made no sense. I guess maybe what's the line in this that was the equivalent to some motherfuckers try to ice skate uphill, and
I guess that's it, because that's the one that's being
I
a
don't
real head
know. It's just because
scratcher.
okay, fine. He takes a train, but then when they go to find Ben, they all just pile. They're in like we see them in a cab. Like
A
it
taxi
just
cab.
like
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, you gotta get into a cab when you get off a plane at the airport. That's the rule. That's the law of New York. You have to get in a cab once you leave the
Okay, then maybe they
airport.
are in Switzerland, and I don't know. Just I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it still makes no sense on how Ben was so, like, how he easily was able to smuggle himself into New York from Switzerland. That's several borders you got to cross, bud, and you
And
kind of stick
just
out.
whatever.
And he didn't even like steal any clothes
He
until he
stole
got
a
into New
trench coat.
York.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that he just, yeah? So you mean to tell me that he just did that walking around with his like everything out? I almost made a rock hard cock joke, but I feel like that's in poor
I do love
taste.
the scene in this movie where there's like a joke in the next movie where Johnny's asking him like, "How do you and your girlfriend, like?" But
Yeah, no, that is an
yeah,
incredibly
but
valid question. How does
but
that
I do
work?
love Johnny. I agree. There's not much to him, but there are lines that I do think. There are jokes
Are
that
really
like when
funny.
just after the whole bridge scene and everything's kind of like, oh my god, like what's happening and blah blah blah, and then Johnny's just like looking at Ben like, where are your ears? Like that I genuinely laughed at. Like the timing of
Yeah,
some of these jokes were pretty. Like there was even a joke I did not remember this when. Yeah, it's in the second montage of them like using their powers, which I don't know. I wish there was like I don't know them using it. I guess we've already seen them defending on the bridge. That was them using them to protect others, and then the rest of the movie
yeah,
is just them just using their powers just because they can.
for just random
I don't
mundane
know, just like
stuff.
more because they all seem to work well together. So and Johnny's the only one that's actively trying to like figure out how to fly, whereas like everyone else just
Yeah,
like, oh bam, they know how to use their powers. It's Sue Storm seems like it would be. I don't know much about invisibility, but like in the very beginning, the first time she's using it, she can't really control it.
no, it like flickers in and out, and we get the classic Jessica Alba in her underwear
Which I'm
scene.
like, what the hell? Because what if okay, they want her to like sneak past everybody? Okay, yeah, she has to be naked, but like, but then like, what if it flickers back on and she's now just naked in front
A
of everybody?
nudist.
Like,
Also, I'd like to point out that they make her like, quick, we need you to turn invisible. That she does that and like flickers back when she's like in her underwear and flickers back, and then she's naked. Johnny like like takes all of her clothes so he can like give give her sister back her clothes. Meanwhile, she's invisible, and the other two is like they just sneak around the police. Like, why do they need to turn her invisible? Those two were able to sneak by so easily. It made no
it didn't make
sense.
sense.
It like the only reason that made sense is like the writer just really wanted to see Jessica Alba in her underwear. That's the only thing I can make that makes
Probably.
sense.
Um, but there is a scene in the second montage of them just living together. Oh, because it's like, okay, there's the montage of them, being tested on and experimenting. And then there's a montage after where Susan Storm's like, we're all going to be here for a while. Can we all just try to get along? And then it's just like Johnny, like putting like shaving cream in, the thing's hand. And
In
like,
the
that
thing's hand,
was
yeah.
funny. Like, that was a funny, like, moment. And then, Johnny walking down the hall and seeing Reed's
arm grabbing for a roll of toilet
like
paper.
that, I also was like, I don't remember that joke, but see, that's actually a funny joke because, like, yeah, like, okay, but like,
Oh, or Susan stepping out of the shower and like Reed walks in, she turns herself invisible. It's like, you already have the towel covering you. Why did you turn yourself invisible? But whatever, I
but
thought it was
that
funny.
was another joke of
Yeah,
like, but see, like, out of everyone, so Reed, I feel like I don't know. So I feel like it'd be his powers would probably be easiest to figure out. But I feel like with obviously Johnny's using them the most. Of course, it makes sense why he has his somewhat under control compared to everyone else. I don't understand
yeah.
why it doesn't make sense to me at all why Sue Storm has no issue. Like it would be. I feel like it would it be just second nature, sort of, or would like I don't know.
I think it eventually becomes
Eventually, but not right
second nature.
away.
But
Like
Also, also, I guess Bree Richards also has like the added side effect of super strength because in the beginning he's like able to pick up a a like a full grown man in firefighter garb, like no problem, hoist him up the bridge. Like that, you were a string bean before this. You mean to tell me that just on your own you were able to pick up a firefighter and hoist him over your shoulder with no sweat? And meanwhile, he's just now Mr. Stretchy, and he's able to do that. It's like, so I guess this added strength, or did you just always have that? Because that movie didn't really
I was thinking
make
that
that
too. I'm like, is
clear.
he wrapping his legs around something to like keep him from falling? Is someone holding him? I was thinking that too.
We 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 never see that, so for all we know, he's just like standing there, like popping a serious squat to support himself, so he can carry that
Popping a
firefighter up.
serious squat. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pop. He's popping a mad squat so he can lift that firefighter.
So, okay.
This is so fucking stupid.
Kevin, would you say this movie is real?
No, absolutely not.
No.
No. No, if anything, they
Yeah.
all would have died of cancer in space because of this. But okay, let's say that they all managed to get their powers and on Earth. Um, the fact that they're all left in relative solitude, alone in that building without any real government interference, is like, um, yeah, we're gonna need a fucking quarantine, you guys. You were exposed to massive amounts of radiation that completely changed your body.
But
Uh,
weren't they in quarantine when they first got back?
Yeah, which made no sense that they got cleared as fast as they did because that was they were under quarantine on for Victor Von Doom's company. That wasn't at like the behest of like any government agency or anything like that. And that was also before that they really showed any powers. They left like right as they got their powers or like got their powers like right as they were leaving. So it's like clearly we need to do some more observation on this, but by that point they were already cleared to go. So it's like uh why what the fuck? Like even the doctor that was examining Doom is even saying like I need to contact the CDC. I don't know what's going on with you. If this is contagious and spreads, like this could be a whole pandemic. And he kills that doctor. Um, yeah, that doctor's 100% right. We have no idea what's going on with you guys. You guys
Mm-hmm.
have no idea what's going on with you guys. There's needs some kind of like intervention and needs to be properly studied. And the fact that no one came like some like military guy showed up from like Reed's Pass from like I'm assuming like government contracts or something like that. It's like you guys are living weapons. We need to utilize that against our war against whatever.
Yeah.
It made no sense that they were completely left alone, and for the most part, the police were just totally cool with them just being how they were. Like this man is a walking arsonist. This guy can just completely bulldoze a 16 wheeler, and these two can just like waltz in and rob a bank. Where's Senator Kelly like giving all these like anti mutant restrictions when these guys are walking around completely free after completely. For the most part, they completely destroyed that bridge. Like that was 100% their fault. I mean, like they didn't do it on purpose. They were trying to save like a suicidal guy, but like it went from 0 to 100 real quick, all because they were there.
I was thinking that this is a movie where, for like maybe the first time, we actually have like a superhero. Because this is before Iron Man. We have a superhero where everybody knows that they're heroes and have these gifts. There's no alter ego. They are just one
Yeah,
person. And I don't know. It was kind of interesting. I felt like that could have. I think the whole celebrity esque and like being chased by people and like paparazzi, like that, I found believable. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But I feel like
yeah.
that. I don't know.
I think they only utilized that in like one
Right?
scene
No, but
though.
like Johnny is totally
Oh yeah.
like taking in all of his fame. Like Sue was like running away from
Oh
people,
yeah.
and like everyone. There was different. Like some people are afraid of Ben. Like whatever. There were different versions of it, but like, yeah, they're all they're one person. There's no alter ego, which is what I was like. That kind of just occurred to me while watching. But yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. This isn't very real. I think just not even just the pacing of the movie, but just the pacing of like how quickly things happened. Like, there's no way if they were going to go up, the fact that okay, so Victor Von Doom has like a space station. Even if he has a space station, going up into space would take months or years of preparation. Like, you're not going to just go in a few weeks. It's not just a trip, you know? And that I was like, that I call bullshit.
yeah. And it seemed like Ben and Johnny were like the only ones that had like proper NASA training. Ben seems like a complete like not really like a fieldwork guy, and
Ben
space is
said
some
he's a
like
pilot, though. And that was what didn't make sense.
I meant Reed.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like Reed seems like he's suited like entirely for the lab. Going out into space seems definitely like serious field work. And Jessica Alba's character, there, like there was really like no indication on why she was there, other than the fact that Victor wanted to propose to her, and she was like his like lead assistant or something like that. It really
Yeah.
her role on that space station was never explained.
And also, that was another thing, was I was very unclear. Like, I guess she later said, like, I've never was with Victor. So, okay, maybe she, because I will say, I remember thinking, like, is she actually in a relationship with him? Because the fact that he was going to just let Ben stay out there and die, like, that, I mean, even if, unless not just like there's no other way, but just a watch me, like, he didn't even care, that would make you, that would, I don't, I would,
Yeah.
that's not an attractive quality in a human,
I
like,
mean, in his defense, like, yeah, the way he went about it was a dick move, but he was kind of right. There was really nothing we could do to save them, and for all he knew, that like radiation cloud would have killed them and given them cancer 10 times over in like the 3 seconds it would take for it to touch them.
but it seemed
Like
like it didn't
that, yeah.
matter anyway, because, like,
I mean,
the,
he got affected, but I mean, like, he didn't know that he would be affected because he was protected by like really strong shields that they were praising throughout like this entire movie. It seemed like.
so the shield did work, that's what I was confused on.
It worked in the fact that it
Didn't kill them.
delayed his change, but he still got it.
Oh,
It
so
just didn't
he.
happen as quickly as all of them.
Oh, okay, because I was wondering that. So they were all. Because Ben just barely made it on, but, like, he still
Yeah.
got the. So he made it on ship, but they all
He
got it, and that's. Okay, that makes more sense.
Ben got the bulk of it, and the reason why Victor Von Doom didn't get like his symptoms, quote unquote symptoms, until like way later on was the shield absorbed a good chunk of it, but it also passed like the toughness of that shield onto him, which is why he was as durable as he was.
And what was Victor's powers exactly? Like,
Lightning.
what?
Lightning and extremely durable
I guess
skin.
thought he was, like, metal. I'm like, okay.
Yep, yep, yeah, super durable skin.
But, okay.
Which yeah, and like I don't know. It seemed like they made his character way more petty in this because the only reason he's putting on the mask is because like his face is starting to like get like all jacked because like bits of like his like metal skin are popping out and like his like scars on his face. In the comics, he just has like a horribly disfigured face from some like science experiment like gone horribly wrong. So he wears that because no one wants to see that. And I remember at one point, he was having dinner with someone, and it was like, why don't you eat? It's like, oh, I can't eat with this mask on. It's like, why do you wear that mask? It's like, oh, I was horribly disfigured. It's like, oh, so you wear that out of vanity?
Hmm,
And like Victor Von Doom like looks at
what's
him,
that?
and then he takes the mask off, puts it down, and then like the guy just like hands him like a turkey leg, and it's like, there, now we can talk. And it's like the fact that Victor Von Doom didn't just kill that man, it's like that man has
Yeah.
balls. No one talks to Doom like that with and lives.
But, yeah, I agree. It was definitely, like, there was a lot of moments where I'm like, I call bullshit. Like, I don't think that's,
Yeah,
forget again, like, it's not the fact that how they get powers, it's not any of that stuff. Like, that I I buy all of that. It was pretty much just the care, not the like Victor Von Doom not utilizing the Fantastic Four more. Like it was like he was just like being petty and for unclear. Other than the
Yeah,
fact that he was about to lose his company, like
yeah. Which also waste opportunity. He could have definitely used the Fantastic Four for public publicity. It's like, hey, we all got our powers from this mission that was brought on by my company. He could have totally made them like the new face of his company and gotten some like crazy good publicity through that.
yeah, no, I agree.
Doctor Doom is supposed to be like one of the smartest characters, and I can think of like 3 different like plans on how he could have like either used the Fantastic Four for his own gain, gotten rid of them without really any major problem, or just gone about his business without the Fantastic Four having any idea that any of this was going on, and still would have come out on top with saving his company or ruling his country or whatever the fuck his actual plan was that was not thought out at
So yeah,
all.
overall, just like the whole movie lacked depth, and therefore I don't want to say I didn't care about anybody. It was just the reasoning behind everyone's actions seemed uh not very believable or authentic, or just like not
Or
even,
baseless.
yeah, just like I'm like, okay, I can believe that this would happen, but why is it happening? Like I don't, there's
Yeah.
not enough evidence that I'm seeing that I can give like an actual reason. So that's my overall thought of it. But to be honest,
Yeah.
it's a fun movie. I wouldn't say not
Yeah,
watch it.
it's definitely one of those like early 2000s still trying to like figure out its footing superhero movies. It's just like I said with like X-Men, it's a fun popcorn flick. It's not like a thought-provoking thing. It's just a fun dumb action movie that you can turn your brain off and laugh at some like cheesy jokes.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like of major substance, but it's not like you're gonna like lose brain cells watching this on how bad it is.
No, and like no, I agree. I like the cast for the most part. Like I don't really have an issue with that.
Yeah, I feel like this cast was like really spot on. I thought Michael Chiklis did an amazing job as the Thing. Like that was by far like my favorite character in this movie.
I liked, and yeah, and I like the guy who I can't think of, I can't like remember his name, but the guy that's Reed Richards. Like I like him too. But he's not like, again, he has his issues for sure. But I agree that
Oh
uh
yeah,
Michael Chiklis is great in this, and like it's just like
yeah,
a fun
yeah,
cast. It's just not the best script. I think it very much felt like a first or second draft. Like there's something here, but let's cut this stuff out, or let's add a little
yeah,
more depth.
yeah. It was a good uh structure
Yeah,
of how things should progress. It just they didn't nail the pacing, and it really affected the quality of this movie.
yeah,
But this is a good groundwork for how it should progress. Is like how they got their powers, how they're trying to deal with it, and how the bad guy is trying to go about his plans.
yeah,
Yeah, like it's a good 3-part story. It just completely mucked it up in the middle of the second act, in my opinion, with like a huge lull of really nothing of major value happening other than Michael Chiklis getting some much needed character growth because his character is getting shit on throughout this entire
what
movie.
exactly is, like, I supposedly there's another Fantastic Four in the making into the MCU.
I've been hearing rumors about that for like a few years, and like John Krasinski is like rumored to be
What?
Fantastic
No
Four,
way!
which
I didn't hear about that.
okay. Okay, yeah. Jim from The Office is going to be Reed Richards,
I mean, he's
allegedly.
a John Krasinski's a pretty good actor. Like he's not.
Yeah, no, I like him. I'm really curious to see if that's true or not, but yeah, I don't know.
I didn't see the more recent one. I just
Don't.
remember when it came.
Save your money and your time. Don't bother. I'm going to nip this in the butt right now. Don't waste your time and your money. It is like 2 hours of your life you're not going to get back.
I
It
remember,
is it is a piece of shit movie that has nothing of value whatsoever.
I just remember when it came out, and I was like the night before. I remember because I think I had seen like the director went on Twitter saying the studio totally bashed what he wanted to do, and I remember the night before it came out, I was like on like Rotten Tomatoes, and it had such I don't remember what the score. It was like a 6%. It was something. It was such a low score, and I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit! And I remember I was staying at my cousin's for a few days, like helping her out with like her kids, and we were like thinking, what are we gonna do that day? And she's like, oh, we can go see Fantastic Four, and I'm like, no, no. I'm like, we're not seeing that. Like,
Yeah.
don't, please don't make me. And like, but I just want to understand, like, because you've seen this, and I feel like most people, I know this one is kind of a hit or miss for people, but most people agree that
Yeah.
the most recent version is terrible. I just want to know, like, because you've seen both, why can't they make a good Fantastic Four? Is it too difficult to just establish these new? It's because it's an ensemble. It's not like Avengers where
Yeah.
they each have their own, storylines and story arcs, and then they all come together for the Avengers.
Well, hopefully when Disney makes it, I guess fourth time's the charm. I
But
guess.
Guardians works. Guardians makes sense. There's all these, like,
Yeah. Well,
what is so difficult about, like, I think this would be a
I,
really good
I don't know.
series.
I think it's more difficult because all the characters are human. I think Guardians can kind of get away with a lot more because
Okay.
like Groot, we know nothing about. Drax, his whole story is that he wants revenge. Like a lot of them can be more or less summed up in like a couple like quick sentences, and then just kind of build off on like their exaggerated character traits because they're not human. They're wacky, and we're learning about them as we go. With Fantastic Four, I think is a little bit more complicated because they are supposed to be their characters are originated and grounded in reality. It's like, oh, like I'm a scientist, I'm an MIT like major, like oh, like I'm a crazy wild playboy. It's like, and this is my hot sister, and like they all have like their own thing going on prior to them being the Fantastic Four. Like they all have like their own like relationship dynamic and character traits and flaws that is difficult to nail before they even get their powers because then once they get the powers it becomes more extreme and exaggerated on their flaws and character traits because they're being viewed under a more critical lens by the public in that movie, so they're trying to be the best that they can or try to have the most fun in Johnny's case, and we kind of try to see like the best and worst of it, and it's just a real clusterfuck by that point if we haven't had a decent like character moments with any of them, which I don't think this movie
No.
really did, and the new one definitely didn't because fuck that
I
movie.
like I just think like fantastic there's like this I feel like would be a really great like series if Disney Plus wanted to do that.
Oh yeah, as a series. Oh, 100%. Yeah, this would be a great series, or a TV show or something like that.
Do
Yeah,
that Disney.
yeah, yeah. That, yes, Disney, we know you're watching. Um, that being said, I think that we've more or less kind of finished
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. I really can't think of anything else except for bashing the new movie, which I don't want to have to do that.
We'll save that for
Yeah, we'll
another
save that
time.
for another time.
I literally, yeah, I looked and saw like we had been recording for about 40 minutes, and I'm like, are we almost
Yeah, it's
done?
like, oh wow,
Like,
we've really tapped this well dry. There's really nothing of value in this movie.
I feel like I've said all the things I wanted to say. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, Sam, where can these lovely people find our lovely movie bashing voices?
You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Overcast, Google, pretty much wherever you can find podcasts. Um, We're also on YouTube, and please follow us on Instagram, or you can, I mean, follow us anywhere. You know, like, subscribe, leave a comment. That'd be nice.
Please follow us. We're so lonely.
and
We're trapped in this void. It's just the two of us. Please.
yeah. So yeah, that's it for Marvel month or superhero month.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's basically Marvel March. Let's be real.
Marvel March, except we know it. I mean, at some point, we're probably gonna do a non-Marvel movie. That's why I'm like,
Eventually, yeah.
at some point. But yeah, like, yeah, it's been fun. Next
Yeah.
month is also gonna be fun. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next
Oh, I'm
month.
really excited.
I have like a couple subs. I'm like already like jumping back and forth between like two or three movies on like what my pick would be.
I
Um.
I already was like submitted my pick. I cannot wait for you to see.
Oh fuck. I'm really nervous now.
Yeah, I'm not
All
gonna say
right.
anything.
All right. That being said, I'm Kevin Tracy.
And I'm Samantha Tomlinson, and this has been Movie Reel.
Excelsior, people. Bye.